The moment Mason raised his glass, I knew something was wrong. His eyes were glassy from too much whiskey, and that stupid grin spread across his face. The same one he used to wear when we were dating in college, right before he'd say something that would get us both in trouble. Wait, everyone, Mason called out, swaying slightly as he stood in our living room. The birthday party chatter died down. 23 guests turned to look at him, wine glasses and beer bottles suspended mid-sip. My husband Rowan stood by my birthday cake, lighter still in his hand from relighting the trick candles that kept flickering back to life. My stomach dropped. Mason's timing was always terrible, but this felt different, dangerous. I want to make a toast, Mason announced, his voice carrying that edge it got when he'd had too many drinks. To Lysandra, the birthday girl, and to all those secret Tuesday nights at the Lantern. You know what I'm talking about, Lys. The room went dead silent. I felt every pair of eyes shift between Mason and me, then inevitably toward Rowan. My husband's face was a study in slow-motion devastation, confusion melting into realization hardening into something that looked like his heart physically breaking in real time. Mason, I said quickly, forcing a laugh that sounded hollow even to my own ears. You're drunk. Maybe we should... Come on, don't be modest, Mason interrupted, raising his whiskey higher. To our secret nights. The best kind of errands, am I right? The cake candles flickered in the sudden stillness. Someone's phone buzzed. My mother-in-law Judith set down her wine glass with a sharp clink that seemed to echo through the room. I opened my mouth to explain, to say something, anything that could make this better. But what could I possibly say? The truth was already out there, echoing off the walls of our carefully decorated living room, bouncing between the faces of everyone I loved and respected. Rowan's lighter slipped from his fingers and clattered onto the hardwood floor. Rowan, I can explain, I started, but he was already backing away from the cake, from me, from everything. My sister Petra stepped forward, her face flushed. Mason, maybe you should... Should what? Mason laughed, oblivious to the destruction he'd just unleashed. I'm just celebrating Lys here. Best bartender in town, by the way. I make a mean Manhattan, don't I, Lys? That's when I saw it, the exact moment my husband understood. His face went completely blank, like someone had just unplugged him. The man who'd spent 3 years courting me, who'd proposed with his grandmother's ring, who'd held my hand through 7 hours of labor when Eloise was born, looked at me like I was a complete stranger. Everyone should probably go, Rowan said quietly, his voice steady but wrong somehow, too controlled. Thank you for coming to Lysandra's party. The exodus began immediately. My friend Sienna grabbed her purse, avoiding eye contact. My mother Marlene looked like she might faint. Judith gathered her coat with sharp, efficient movements, her lips pressed into a thin line of disapproval. Rowan, please, I tried again, reaching for his arm. He stepped away like I'd tried to burn him. Mason finally seemed to realize something was wrong. Hey, I was just... You need to leave, Rowan told him. Not angry, not shouting. Just final. Look, man, I didn't mean anything by it. Lys and I, we're just friends. Old friends. We just grab drinks sometimes when she's running errands on Tuesdays. It's not... Get out of my house. The authority in Rowan's voice cut through Mason's drunken rambling. Mason looked around the room, finally reading the situation, and grabbed his jacket. Lys, I'll call you, he said as he headed for the door. No, Rowan said. You won't. Within 10 minutes, our house was empty except for the 3 of us and 7-year-old Eloise, who'd been upstairs playing video games and missed the entire disaster. The living room looked like a party graveyard, half-empty glasses, crumpled napkins, my birthday cake with its slowly melting candles still flickering. Mummy, where did everyone go? Eloise appeared at the top of the stairs in her pajamas. The party's over, sweetheart, I managed. Go brush your teeth. But you didn't blow out your candles yet. Rowan walked over to the cake and blew out all 34 candles in one breath. The room plunged into semi-darkness, lit only by the table lamps. There, he said. Now they're out. After Eloise went to bed, I found Rowan sitting in the kitchen in complete darkness, his phone in his hands, staring at the screen. Rowan, we need to talk. He didn't look up. Do we? Mason was drunk. He didn't mean anything by it. We're just friends. Friends who meet for secret drinks on Tuesday nights when you tell me you're running errands. My mouth went dry. It's not what you think. What do I think, Lysandra? The way he said my full name, not Lys, not Honey, not any of the pet names he'd used for 8 years, made my chest tight. You think something's going on between Mason and me. Is there? The question hung in the air between us. I could lie. I could double down, gaslight him, make him think he was crazy for even suspecting. I'd gotten good at that over the past 6 months. We're just friends, I repeated. Rowan finally looked up at me. Even in the darkness, I could see something had changed in his eyes. Something fundamental had shifted, and I wasn't sure it could ever shift back. I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight, he said, standing up. We'll talk tomorrow. Rowan, please don't do this. Don't punish me for Mason's stupidity. He paused in the doorway. I'm not punishing you for Mason's stupidity, Lysandra. I'm processing what my wife has been doing every Tuesday for the past 6 months while I thought she was grocery shopping. After he left, I sat in the dark kitchen, staring at my birthday cake. The frosting had started to look sad and wilted. 34 candles, blown out in one breath by a man who'd just learned his wife had been lying to him for half a year. My phone buzzed. A text from Mason. Sorry if I made things awkward. People are asking questions. My hand shook as I typed back, What people? What questions? But he didn't respond. I went upstairs and lay in our empty bed, listening to Rowan move around in the guest room. Every creak of the floorboards felt like another nail in the coffin of my marriage. The worst part wasn't that I'd been caught. The worst part was that I still didn't think I'd done anything that wrong. I woke up to the sound of Rowan making coffee downstairs, the same routine he'd followed for 8 years. For a moment, lying in our bed with morning light filtering through the curtains, I could almost pretend the previous night had been a nightmare. Then I remembered Mason's toast, and my stomach clenched. Rowan was sitting at the kitchen island when I came downstairs, fully dressed for work, his laptop open, coffee mug in hand. He looked up when I entered, and his face was politely neutral, the expression he used with difficult clients at work. Good morning, he said. Morning. I poured myself coffee, trying to read his mood. Did you sleep okay? Fine. The single word felt like a door slamming. I sat across from him, wrapping my hands around my mug for warmth. Rowan, about last night. I don't want to discuss it right now. We have to discuss it sometime. He closed his laptop and looked at me directly. Do we? Because I spent most of the night thinking about it, and I'm not sure what there is to discuss. There's everything to discuss. Mason was drunk and being stupid. He made it sound like something it wasn't. What was it then? I took a breath, choosing my words carefully. We're friends. We went to college together. Sometimes when I'm out running errands, I stop by the Lantern for a drink. It's not a big deal. Every Tuesday for 6 months isn't sometimes, Lysandra. How do you... I stopped myself, but it was too late. How do I know it's been every Tuesday for 6 months? Rowan's voice was dangerously quiet. Because I pay attention to my wife's schedule. Because I noticed you started taking longer on your Tuesday errands. Because I asked you about it once and you said traffic was bad. My face heated up. You've been tracking my schedule. I've been noticing that my wife lies to me. The accusation hit like a slap. I don't lie to you. Really? So if I call the Lantern right now and ask Mason about your Tuesday visits, he'll tell me you just grab one drink and leave? That you sit at the bar talking about the weather and local news? I stared into my coffee, my mind racing. You're being paranoid. Am I? He pulled out his phone. Let's find out. Don't you dare call him. Why not? If it's innocent, what's the problem? I reached for his phone, but he pulled it back. Rowan, please. You're making this bigger than it is. Then explain it to me. Make me understand why my wife has been secretly meeting her ex-boyfriend every week for 6 months and lying about it. He's not my ex-boyfriend. We dated for like 3 months in college. That's not an answer. Eloise wandered into the kitchen in her school uniform, backpack slung over one shoulder. Why are you guys talking so quiet? We're just having a grown-up conversation, sweetheart, I said, forcing brightness into my voice. Did you brush your teeth? Yes. Are you fighting? Rowan and I exchanged a look. No, baby, he said. Just talking. I'll drive you to school today. But Mommy always drives me on Wednesdays. Not today. After they left, I sat in the empty kitchen, staring at my phone. I needed to talk to someone who would understand, who wouldn't judge me for having a little harmless fun. I called my sister Petra. Oh my God, she said when I finished explaining. Mason actually said that in front of everyone. He was drunk. He didn't mean anything by it. But Rowan thinks I'm having an affair. Are you? The question caught me off guard. What? No, we're just friends. Okay, but you've been meeting him secretly for months. That's kind of affair adjacent. It's not secret. I just didn't mention it. Liz, come on. You've been lying about where you are every Tuesday. That's the definition of secret. I felt a flash of irritation. Whose side are you on here? Yours, obviously. I'm just saying I can see why Rowan's upset. He's being controlling. I'm allowed to have friends. Of course you are, but maybe friends you don't lie about. I wasn't lying. I was just keeping the peace. You know how Rowan gets about Mason. How does he get? I paused, trying to articulate it. Jealous, insecure. He's never liked that Mason and I stayed in touch. Have you stayed in touch? I thought you said you hadn't talked to him in years before this started. Well, no, but that's not the point. The point is, Rowan doesn't get to dictate who I'm friends with. Nobody's saying he does, but sneaking around isn't the answer either. I felt tears prick my eyes. I wasn't sneaking. I was just... I don't know. Mason makes me laugh. He's fun. He reminds me of who I used to be before I became a wife and mother and HR officer who wears sensible shoes and worries about mortgage payments. Ah, Petra said softly. There it is. There's what? The real reason you've been meeting him. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. I'm allowed to want to feel young sometimes. Of course you are, but maybe find a way to do that without lying to your husband. After I hung up, I felt worse instead of better. Even Petra, who usually supported me unconditionally, seemed to think I was in the wrong. My phone buzzed with a text from Sienna. Girl, what was that about last night? Call me. Then another from my mother. We need to talk. Then one from Mason. Can we meet? I think I really screwed up. I stared at the messages, feeling walls closing in around me. This was exactly what I'd been trying to avoid by keeping things quiet. Now everyone was going to have opinions about my business. I texted Mason back. Not today. Rowan's suspicious enough already. His response came immediately. That's kind of the problem. People are talking. What people? Everyone who was at your party last night. My coworker said 3 different people called the bar asking about you. My blood went cold. What did you tell them? Nothing. But Lys, maybe we should cool it for a while. I stared at his message, feeling something like panic rise in my chest. Are you serious right now? I don't want to cause problems in your marriage. Little late for that, don't you think? He didn't respond. I spent the rest of the day pacing around the house, checking my phone obsessively. More messages trickled in. Friends wanting to know what happened, my mother demanding I call her back, Judith asking if I was all right. By the time Rowan came home with Eloise, I'd worked myself into a state of righteous indignation. This was ridiculous. I was being treated like a criminal for having a friend. How was your day? Rowan asked politely, as Eloise ran upstairs to start her homework. Terrible, thanks. Half the town has been calling me because of Mason's stupid toast. What are they saying? Does it matter? The damage is done. Rowan loosened his tie and hung it over a chair. The damage from what, exactly? From Mason making it sound like something it wasn't. So you keep saying, but you still haven't told me what it actually was. I threw my hands up. I told you. We're friends. We grab drinks. We talk. That's it. About what? What? What do you talk about for 3 hours every Tuesday? My mouth went dry. How do you know it's 3 hours? Because you leave at 2 and get home at 5, every week, like clockwork. I felt trapped, cornered. We talk about everything, life, work, memories. He's easy to talk to. Easier than talking to your husband? The question hung in the air between us. I wanted to say no, of course not, but the words wouldn't come. That's not fair, I said finally. Isn't it? When's the last time you and I spent 3 uninterrupted hours just talking? I couldn't remember. I work full-time and take care of Eloise and manage this household, I said defensively. I'm sorry if I don't have the energy to be your entertainment every night. I'm not asking you to entertain me. I'm asking you to be honest with me. I am being honest. Are you? Because I called the lantern today. My heart stopped. You what? I called and asked to speak to Mason. Had a very interesting conversation. You had no right. I had every right. He's been meeting my wife in secret for 6 months. I think that gives me the right to ask some questions. What did he say? Rowan studied my face. Why don't you tell me what you think he said? It was a trap, and I knew it. But I also knew Mason well enough to guess he'd tried to minimize things, make them sound innocent. He probably told you we're just friends, because that's what we are. He told me you've been unhappy in your marriage, that you feel trapped, that I don't appreciate you. The words hit me like physical blows. He said that? He said a lot of things, but what I want to know is whether he was right. I stared at my husband, this man I'd built a life with, and felt something crack inside my chest. Sometimes, I whispered. Rowan nodded slowly, like I'd confirmed something he'd already suspected. I see, he said. Thank you for being honest. He headed for the stairs, then paused. For what it's worth, Lysandra, if you were unhappy, you could have talked to me about it. We could have worked on it together. Instead, you decided to work on it with someone else. After he left, I stood in the kitchen, feeling like I'd just lost something important, without quite understanding what it was. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Saw the video from your party. Yikes, you okay? Video? What video? My hands shook as I opened Facebook and searched for my name. It didn't take long to find it. A short clip someone had taken of Mason's toast, posted in our local community group with the caption, "When you accidentally expose someone's affair at their birthday party." It had 37 comments already. I was going to be sick. The video had been viewed 847 times by morning. I knew because I'd been refreshing the page obsessively since I found it, watching the view count climb and the comments multiply. Most people were trying to be diplomatic, lots of yikes and awkward and prayers for the family, but a few were more direct. Always thought she was stuck up. Poor Rowan, he's such a nice guy. The bartender at the Lantern, really, she could do better. She couldn't do better, that's why she married Rowan. I reported the video, but Facebook said it didn't violate their community standards. Apparently, publicly humiliating someone wasn't against the rules, as long as no one was naked or dead. Rowan had already left for work by the time I came downstairs. He'd made coffee but didn't leave me any, which felt petty and unlike him. A note on the counter said he'd drop Eloise at school and pick her up too. My phone rang. Sienna. "Girl, we need to talk," she said without preamble. "I can't deal with this right now." "You have to deal with it. It's everywhere. My neighbor asked me about it at the gym this morning." "What did you tell her?" "That it was none of her business. But Lys, what actually happened? Because that video makes it look like—" "I know what it looks like. It's not what it looks like." "So you're not having an affair?" No. God, why does everyone keep asking me that? Because you've been secretly meeting your ex-boyfriend for months and lying about it. I hung up on her. The phone rang again immediately. My mother. Lysandra Rose, you call me back right now. I let it go to voicemail, then played the message. I don't know what's going on, but Mrs. Patterson from down the street just called to ask if you were getting divorced. Fix this, now. I turned off my phone and tried to pretend the outside world didn't exist. It worked until Eloise's school called the landline. Mrs. Vale, this is Principal Martinez. I was wondering if you could come in for a brief chat about Eloise. My stomach dropped. Is she okay? Is she hurt? She's fine physically, but she seems distracted today, a bit emotional. I wanted to check if there's anything going on at home that might be affecting her. No, I said quickly. Everything's fine. I see. Well, if anything changes, please let us know. We're here to support the whole family. After I hung up, I sat on the couch and cried for the first time since this whole mess started. Not delicate tears, but ugly, snotty sobbing that left me gasping. This was supposed to be harmless. Meeting Mason was supposed to be my little escape, my tiny rebellion against the mundane routine of suburban motherhood. It was supposed to be fun. How had it turned into this? My phone buzzed with a text. I'd forgotten to turn it back off. Petra, can you come over? We need to talk. I drove to my sister's apartment in a daze, checking my rearview mirror obsessively, like I was being followed. Paranoid, but after this morning, it felt possible. Petra lived in a trendy complex downtown, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. She worked in marketing for a startup and made twice what I did, which she never mentioned, but which was obvious from her furniture and her car and her clothes. You look terrible, she said when she opened the door. Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear. She handed me a glass of wine even though it was barely noon. Okay, talk. What's really going on? I told you yesterday, Mason and I are friends. That's it. Lys. She sat across from me, her expression serious. I saw the video. Everyone's seen the video, apparently. The way he looked at you when he made that toast. That's not how friends look at each other. I took a large sip of wine. You're reading into it. Am I? Because I've been thinking about it all night, and I realized something. You've been different the past few months, happier, more, I don't know, energetic. I thought it was because you'd started working out or something. Maybe it was. Was it? Or was it because you were having an affair? I wasn't having an affair. The words came out louder than I intended. We never slept together. We never even kissed. We just talked and flirted a little. That's not an affair. Petra raised an eyebrow. Flirted? I realized my mistake immediately. I mean, you know, harmless flirting. The kind everyone does. Everyone doesn't do it secretly for 6 months while lying to their spouse. Whose side are you on? Yours. I'm always on your side, but I'm also trying to help you see how this looks from the outside. I don't care how it looks from the outside. You should, because the outside is where you live, where Eloise goes to school, where Rowan works. She leaned forward. Where your marriage exists. I finished my wine and held out the glass for more. My marriage was fine before this happened. Was it? Yes. Then why were you meeting Mason? I stared into my wine, trying to find words for feelings I'd never articulated, even to myself. Rowan's a good man, I said finally. He's responsible and reliable, and he loves me and Eloise. But he's safe, predictable. We have the same conversations every day. Work was fine. How was yours? What's for dinner? Did you pay the electric bill? We watch Netflix and go to bed and get up and do it all again. That's called marriage, Lys. Is it? Because I remember when we were dating, we'd stay up all night talking about everything and nothing. We'd drive to the beach at midnight just because. When's the last time we did anything spontaneous? When's the last time you suggested doing something spontaneous? The question caught me off guard. What? You're complaining that Rowan's predictable, but what have you done to shake things up? Besides secretly meeting your ex, I mean. That's not the point, isn't it? You were bored in your marriage, so instead of talking to your husband about it, you started an emotional affair with someone else. It wasn't an emotional affair. What would you call it? I didn't have an answer for that. My phone buzzed, a text from a number I didn't recognize. You should know, people are saying Rowan is talking to a lawyer. My blood went cold. Petra, look at this. She read the message, her face grave. Who sent it? I don't know. Someone from the party, maybe. This is escalating fast. What do I do? You call Rowan. Right now. You explain everything, you apologize, and you figure out how to fix this. I tried calling him, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried his office, but his assistant said he was in meetings all day. He's avoiding me, I told Petra. Can you blame him? I spent the rest of the afternoon at Petra's, alternating between panic and indignation. By the time I drove home, I'd convinced myself that everyone was overreacting. So what if I'd had a friend? So what if I hadn't mentioned it to Rowan? I wasn't the first married woman to enjoy male attention, and I wouldn't be the last. Rowan's car was in the driveway when I got home. I found him in his office, laptop open, papers spread across the desk. He looked up when I entered, and his expression was unreadable. We need to talk, I said. I agree. Someone texted me that you're talking to a lawyer. I am. The simple admission hit me like a physical blow. Rowan, you can't be serious. I'm very serious. About what? Divorce? Over this? He leaned back in his chair, studying me. What exactly is this, Lysandra? Because I'm still not entirely clear on what I'm supposed to be forgiving you for. There's nothing to forgive. I had drinks with a friend. That's not a crime. You're right, it's not a crime. But lying to your spouse for 6 months is a betrayal. And having an emotional affair, it wasn't an affair, is a betrayal. And humiliating me in front of our friends and family is a betrayal. I didn't humiliate you. Mason did that. Mason made a toast about your secret relationship. You created the secret relationship. I felt tears start again. Why are you being so cold about this? Because I'm trying not to fall apart in front of our daughter. So you're just going to throw away 8 years of marriage? Just like that? I'm not throwing anything away. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything left to save. Of course there is. I love you. Do you? Yes. Then why didn't you talk to me when you were unhappy? Why did you go to someone else? I didn't go to someone else. I needed something that was mine. Something that made me feel like myself again. And I don't make you feel like yourself? I opened my mouth to deny it, but the words wouldn't come. Rowan nodded slowly. I see. That's not what I meant. I think it's exactly what you meant. And you know what? That's okay. People grow apart, people change, but they don't usually lie about it for 6 months while carrying on with someone else. I wasn't carrying on. You were emotionally intimate with another man while lying to your husband about it. What would you call that? I didn't have an answer. I'm sleeping in the guest room until we figure this out, he said, and I think it's best if you don't contact Mason anymore. You can't tell me who I can and can't talk to. You're right, I can't, but I can decide whether I want to stay married to someone who chooses to maintain inappropriate relationships with other men. It's not inappropriate. Then why did you hide it? Again, no answer. That night, I lay in our empty bed listening to Rowan move around in the guest room, feeling like my life was spinning out of control. Everything I'd tried to keep separate was colliding, and I couldn't see a way to make it stop. My phone buzzed with another unknown number. Saw your husband at Morrison & Associates today. That's where my ex went for her divorce. Just thought you should know. Morrison & Associates, the biggest divorce firm in town. My world contracted to a pinpoint of panic. This was really happening. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Rowan sitting in some lawyer's office, signing papers, dividing up our life like a business transaction. By morning, I'd worked myself into a state of desperate determination. This was fixable. It had to be. Rowan was already gone when I came downstairs, but he'd left another note. Taking Eloise to school. We'll pick her up. We'll talk tonight. The formal tone made my chest tight. 8 years of marriage, and he was communicating with me like I was a business associate. I called in sick to work and spent the morning researching Morrison and Associates online. Their website was all polished headshots and testimonials from satisfied clients who'd gotten everything they deserved in their divorces. The consultation fee alone was more than we usually spent on groceries in a month. If Rowan was willing to pay that, he was serious. My phone rang. Judith, my mother-in-law. Lysandra, dear, I think we should have lunch. Judith never called me dear, and she certainly never invited me to lunch. In 8 years, we'd managed a polite but distant relationship built on mutual tolerance for Rowan's sake. I'm not really feeling up to, I insist, Café Luna at noon. She hung up before I could argue. Café Luna was Judith's choice, not mine. All organic salads and overpriced smoothies, the kind of place where conversations were conducted in hushed tones and everyone pretended not to eavesdrop on everyone else. Judith was already seated when I arrived, her silver hair perfectly styled, her expression unreadable. She'd ordered for both of us, which felt presumptuous but typical. You look tired, she said without preamble. I haven't been sleeping well. I imagine not. She sipped her tea, studying me over the rim of her cup. I saw the video. Of course she had. Judith, I can explain. Can you? Because I've been trying to understand it myself, and I keep coming back to the same question. Why would my son's wife publicly humiliate him like that? I didn't publicly humiliate him. Mason did that. Mason made a toast about your secret relationship. You created the secret relationship. The words were almost identical to what Rowan had said, and I wondered if they'd discussed this. It's not what it looked like. What was it then? I gave her the same explanation I'd been giving everyone. Friends, drinks, harmless conversation. She listened without interrupting, her face impassive. I see, she said when I finished. And you felt the need to lie to my son about this friendship because... I wasn't lying. I just didn't mention it. For 6 months. Rowan gets jealous. I was trying to avoid unnecessary drama. Judith set down her teacup with a sharp click. My son is many things, Lysandra, but he is not the jealous type. In fact, he's remarkably trusting. Some might say too trusting. What's that supposed to mean? It means that if Rowan suspected you were being unfaithful, he would have said something months ago. The fact that he didn't suggest he trusted you completely. Right up until the moment that trust was shattered in front of 23 witnesses. I felt heat rise in my cheeks. I wasn't being unfaithful. Weren't you? Because from where I sit, it looks like you were having an emotional affair, while your husband worked extra hours to pay for the house you live in and the car you drive and the private school your daughter attends. That's not fair. Isn't it? Rowan called me yesterday. Do you know what he said? I shook my head. He said he felt like a fool. He said he'd been working 60-hour weeks trying to save for Eloise's college fund while his wife was out playing games with her ex-boyfriend. They weren't games. What would you call them? I didn't have an answer. Let me be very clear about something, Judith continued, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow felt more threatening than shouting. My son is a good man. He's been a faithful husband and a devoted father. He deserves better than this. I know he's a good man. I love him. Do you? Because love isn't just a feeling, Lysandra. It's a choice. It's choosing to be honest with your partner, even when it's difficult. It's choosing to work on your problems together, instead of seeking comfort elsewhere. Tears pricked my eyes. I made a mistake. Yes, you did. The question is what you're going to do about it. I'm trying to fix it. Are you? Because from what I can see, you're still making excuses and blaming everyone else for your choices. The conversation ended with Judith paying the check and leaving me sitting alone at the table, feeling like I'd been dissected by a surgeon. I drove home in a daze, Judith's words echoing in my head. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw Sienna's car parked on the street. She was sitting on my front porch, scrolling through her phone. "We need to talk," she said when she saw me. "Everyone wants to talk today. Can you blame us? Your life is imploding in real time." We went inside and I poured myself a glass of wine even though it wasn't even 2 o'clock. "So," Sienna said, settling onto the couch, "I've been fielding questions about you all morning." "What kind of questions?" "The kind that come with raised eyebrows and fake concern. Is Lysandra okay? Are she and Rowan having problems? Do you think there's any truth to what that guy said at her party?" I took a large sip of wine. "What did you tell them?" "That it was none of their business. But Lys, I need to know, what am I defending here? Because if you're having an affair, I need to know so I can adjust my talking points." "I'm not having an affair." "But you were meeting him. Secretly. For months. Why does everyone keep saying secretly? I just didn't broadcast it." "Because you knew how it would look. Because I knew people would make assumptions." "Were the assumptions wrong?" I stared into my wine, feeling trapped by the question. "I don't know," I said finally. "Maybe I was having feelings for him. Maybe I enjoyed the attention, but I never acted on it." "Oh, honey." Sienna's voice was soft, sympathetic. "You did act on it. You acted on it every Tuesday for 6 months. We never even kissed. That's not the only way to be unfaithful." The words hit like a slap. "Whose side are you on?" "Yours. I'm always on your side, but I'm also trying to help you see this clearly so you can figure out how to fix it. Everyone keeps saying that, but no one's telling me how. Start by being honest. With Rowan, with yourself, with everyone. Stop making excuses and own what you did." "What did I do? Had a friend?" "You had an emotional affair while lying to your husband about it, and now your marriage is falling apart and your reputation is in ruins, and your daughter is asking questions at school." "What questions?" "My sister's kid is in Eloise's class. Apparently, she asked her teacher why her parents were fighting." My heart broke a little. "She said that?" "Kids aren't stupid, Lys. They pick up on tension." I finished my wine and immediately poured another glass. "I don't know how to fix this," I admitted. "Start by cutting contact with Mason." "Rowan already told me to do that." And I don't like being told what to do." Sienna stared at me. "Are you serious right now?" "What?" "Your marriage is falling apart and you're worried about being told what to do. It's the principle of the thing." "The principle?" Listen to yourself. Your husband is meeting with divorce lawyers, and you're talking about principles. Maybe if he wasn't so controlling." "Controlling?" Sienna's voice rose. "He asked you not to contact the man you've been having an emotional affair with. That's not controlling. That's basic relationship boundaries. You don't understand? Then explain it to me." I tried to find words for the feelings churning inside me, the resentment, the defensiveness, the stubborn refusal to admit I was wrong. But everything I thought of sounded petty and selfish. I feel like everyone's ganging up on me." "We're not ganging up on you. We're trying to help you save your marriage." "By telling me I'm a terrible person?" "By telling you the truth, which is that you made a series of bad choices, and now you need to make some good ones to fix the damage." After Sienna left, I sat in my living room, staring at the spot where Mason had made his toast 3 days ago. 3 days, and my entire life had turned upside down. My phone buzzed. A text from Mason. "Can we talk? I feel terrible about what happened." I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Everyone was telling me to cut contact with him. Rowan, Judith, Sienna, probably Petra too if I asked. But I was tired of being told what to do. I typed back, "Meet me at the park on 5th Street in an hour." His response was immediate. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Probably not, but I need to talk to someone who isn't lecturing me. Okay, see you there. I turned off my phone and grabbed my keys, feeling like I was about to make another mistake but unable to stop myself. Some part of me knew I was proving everyone right, that I was choosing Mason over my marriage, my pride over my family. But I was tired of being the villain in everyone else's story, even if I was starting to suspect they might be right. Mason was already at the park when I arrived, sitting on a bench near the playground where I used to bring Eloise when she was little. He looked different somehow, smaller, less confident than the charming man who'd swept into my birthday party 4 days ago. "Thanks for meeting me," he said as I sat down beside him. "I wasn't sure you'd come." I wasn't sure either. We sat in silence for a moment, watching a mother push her toddler on the swings. The scene felt painfully normal compared to the chaos of my life. "I'm sorry," Mason said finally. "I'm so sorry about what happened at your party. I was drunk and stupid, and I ruined everything." "Yeah, you did. Is there anything I can do? Can I talk to Rowan? Explain that it wasn't what it sounded like?" I almost laughed. "You think that would help? You already talked to him once. Apparently you told him I was unhappy in my marriage." Mason winced. "He called me. I was trying to, I don't know, explain things. Make it sound less bad. By telling him I complain about him." "You do complain about him." The words hung in the air between us. He was right, and we both knew it. "That's different," I said weakly. "Is it? Because I've been thinking about our conversations, and you spend a lot of time talking about how bored you are, how trapped you feel, how Rowan doesn't understand you." I was just venting. "For 6 months." I stared at the playground, feeling exposed. "What's your point?" "My point is, maybe this isn't all my fault. Maybe we both knew what we were doing." "What were we doing?" He turned to look at me directly. "Come on, Lise. We weren't just having friendly drinks. There was something between us. There always has been." My chest tightened. We never had sex, but we had everything else. The flirting, the emotional intimacy, the excitement of keeping it secret. That's still an affair, even if we kept our clothes on. Hearing him say it out loud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. I'd been able to rationalize it, minimize it, convince myself it was innocent. But Mason was right. We both knew what we were doing. "So what now?" I asked. "Now I think we need to stay away from each other. For real this time. Everyone's telling me that. Everyone's right." I felt something like panic rise in my chest. "So you're just going to abandon me when I need support the most?" "Liz, I can't be your support system anymore. I'm the reason your marriage is falling apart." "My marriage was already falling apart. You were just a symptom." "Was it? Because from what I could see, Rowan's a good guy who loves you. Maybe you were just bored and looking for excitement." The accusation stung because it felt true. "That's not fair. Isn't it? You had a good life, a stable marriage, a beautiful daughter. But it wasn't exciting enough, so you came looking for drama." "I came looking for someone who made me feel alive. And now you feel alive, right? Now that your life is exploding." I didn't have an answer for that. "I have to go," Mason said, standing up. "My manager's already suspicious about all the attention the bar's been getting. I can't afford to lose my job over this." "So that's it? You're just walking away?" "What did you think was going to happen, Lise? That we'd ride off into the sunset together?" "I'm a 35-year-old bartender who lives in a studio apartment. You're a married mother with a mortgage and a retirement plan. We were never going to work." "I never said I wanted us to work." "Then what did you want?" I opened my mouth to answer and realized I didn't know. I'd never thought beyond the Tuesday afternoons, the stolen hours of feeling young and desired and free. "I don't know," I admitted. "That's the problem. You never thought about the consequences. You just wanted to feel good, and you didn't care who got hurt." After he left, I sat alone on the bench, watching the mother and toddler pack up their things and head home. A normal family doing normal things. their lives uncomplicated by secret meetings and public humiliation. My phone buzzed with a text from Rowan. "Where are you? Eloise is asking for you." I realized I'd been gone for over 2 hours. I drove home in a panic, imagining Eloise scared and confused, wondering where her mother was. I found them in the kitchen, Eloise doing homework at the table while Rowan made dinner. The scene was so domestic, so normal, that it made my chest ache. "Mommy!" Eloise ran to hug me. "Where were you?" "I had some errands to run, sweetheart." "More errands?" Rowan's voice was carefully neutral, but I caught the edge underneath. "Just a few things I needed to take care of." He didn't ask what things, which somehow felt worse than if he'd interrogated me. During dinner, Eloise chatted about school, her teacher, her friends. Normal 7-year-old concerns that felt surreal against the backdrop of my imploding life. "Madison's parents are getting divorced," she said suddenly, spearing a piece of broccoli with her fork. Rowan and I exchanged a look across the table. "That's sad," I managed. "She has to live at her mum's house on weekdays and her dad's house on weekends. She says it's confusing because she never knows where her stuff is." "Eat your vegetables, sweetheart," Rowan said gently. "Are you and Mommy getting divorced?" The question hit like a physical blow. I saw Rowan's face go pale, saw his hands tighten around his fork. "Why would you ask that?" I said. "Because you've been sleeping in different rooms, and you don't talk to each other anymore. And yesterday at school, Mrs. Peterson asked if everything was okay at home." I felt sick. "What did you tell her?" I said I didn't know. After Eloise went to bed, Rowan and I faced each other across the kitchen table, like adversaries preparing for battle. "We need to talk," he said. "I know." "Where were you today?" I could lie. I could make up another errand, another excuse. But I was tired of lying, and I could see in his face that he already knew. "I met Mason at the park." Rowan closed his eyes like I'd hit him. "After everything that's happened, you met with him again. He wanted to apologize. And you thought that was more important than being here when our daughter got home from school?" I lost track of time. "You lost track of time while meeting with your affair partner." "He's not my affair partner." "What is he then?" I struggled to find words. "I don't know anymore." "I do. He's the man you chose over your family. Again." "That's not, isn't it? I asked you not to contact him. Your mother-in-law asked you to think about your choices. Your best friend told you to cut ties with him. And you did the opposite. I don't like being told what to do. Even when what you're being told is right." I didn't answer. Rowan reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder. "I went to see a lawyer today." My heart stopped. "Rowan, I filed for legal separation." The words echoed in the sudden silence of our kitchen. Legal separation, the first step toward divorce. "You can't be serious." "I'm very serious. I've also opened my own bank account and changed the passwords on all our shared accounts." "You can't do that." "I can, and I did. My lawyer advised me to protect our assets while we work through this." "Our assets? They're my assets too." "Are they? Because it seems like you've checked out of this marriage already." I felt tears start. "I haven't checked out. I made a mistake, but I'm still here. I still want to fix this." "Do you? Because meeting with Mason today suggests otherwise." I needed closure. "You needed to choose him over your family one more time." "That's not what happened." "Isn't it? Because that's exactly what it looks like from where I'm sitting." He slid the folder across the table to me. "These are the separation papers. You should probably get your own lawyer." I stared at the folder like it might bite me. "I don't want a lawyer. I want my husband." "Your husband is sitting right here, asking you to make a choice. Him or me, your family or your affair partner." "It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple." I opened the folder with shaking hands. Pages of legal documents, terms and conditions, custody arrangements. Our life reduced to bullet points and signatures. "Joint custody," I read aloud. "Eloise will spend weekdays with me and weekends with you." "That's standard." You want to take my daughter away from me. I want to protect my daughter from the chaos you've created. I'm her mother. And I'm her father. And right now, I'm the parent who's putting her needs first. I looked up at him through my tears. What do you want from me? What do I have to do to fix this? I want you to choose, right now, your family or Mason, your marriage or whatever fantasy you've been living in for the past 6 months. I choose you. I choose our family. Do you? Because you've said that before, and then you went to meet him anyway. I won't see him again. You said that before, too. I mean it this time. Rowan studied my face for a long moment. I want to believe you, but I don't trust you anymore. The words hit harder than anything else he'd said. How do I earn your trust back? I don't know if you can. He stood up, leaving the folder on the table between us. You have until tomorrow to decide whether you want to sign those papers or fight for this marriage. But if you choose to fight, it has to be real. No more lies, no more Mason, no more putting your wants ahead of your family's needs. And if I sign them, then we'll work out the details and try to co-parent as peacefully as possible. After he left, I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the separation papers. 8 years of marriage, reduced to legal terminology and asset division. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Saw you at the park today with the bartender. Guess you're not as sorry as you pretended to be. Then another. Poor Rowan, he deserves so much better. And another. Hope it was worth it. I turned off my phone and went upstairs to our empty bedroom. Tomorrow I had to make a choice that would determine the rest of my life. But as I lay in the dark, listening to Rowan move around in the guest room, I wasn't sure I knew how to choose my family over the part of me that craved excitement and attention and the feeling of being desired. Even if that part of me was destroying everything I'd built, I didn't sleep at all. By morning, I'd read through the separation papers a dozen times, each reading, making the reality more concrete. Joint custody, asset division, spousal support calculations, our life together reduced to a legal contract. Rowan was already gone when I came downstairs. Another note on the counter. Eloise is at my mother's for the day. We'll talk tonight. R. Even his notes had become formal. I spent the morning pacing around our empty house, touching things that might not be mine much longer. The coffee table we'd picked out together at that furniture store in the city, the wedding photos on the mantel, Eloise's artwork covering the refrigerator. How had I gotten here? My phone rang. Petra. Have you signed the papers yet? She asked without preamble. How did you... Rowan called me. He's worried about you. He's worried about me. He's the one who filed for separation. Because you met with Mason yesterday. After everything that happened, you still chose him over your family. I didn't choose him. I just needed to talk to someone. You needed to talk to the man who destroyed your marriage, instead of fighting for the marriage itself. I sank onto the couch, feeling defeated. I don't know how to fight for it anymore. Start by cutting all contact with Mason. Permanently. I already told Rowan I would. You told him that before. Why should he believe you now? Because I mean it this time. Do you? Because honestly, Lys, I'm not sure you do. The doubt in my sister's voice cut deep. What's that supposed to mean? It means you've been making the same promises for days while continuing to make the same mistakes. You say you want to save your marriage, but your actions suggest otherwise. My actions? Meeting Mason at the park, defending him to anyone who'll listen, refusing to admit that what you did was wrong. I know what I did was wrong. Do you? Because every conversation we've had, you've minimized it, blamed other people, made excuses. That's not someone who knows they were wrong. That's someone who got caught. The accusation hit like a slap. That's not fair. Isn't it? Tell me honestly, if Mason hadn't made that toast, would you still be meeting him? I opened my mouth to deny it, but the words wouldn't come. That's what I thought, Petra said quietly. You weren't going to stop. You were going to keep lying to Rowan, Keep sneaking around, keep having your emotional affair until… What? Until you decided to make it physical? Until you left your family for a bartender who lives in a studio apartment? It wasn't going to go that far. How do you know? How does anyone know where these things lead when you're not honest about what they are? After I hung up, I sat in the silence of my house, really thinking about Petra's question for the first time. Would I have stopped seeing Mason if he hadn't made that toast? The honest answer was no. I'd been addicted to the excitement, the attention, the feeling of being desired. I'd told myself it was harmless, but I'd also been planning my Tuesday errands around our meetings, buying new clothes to wear to the bar, checking my appearance in the car mirror before going inside. That wasn't harmless. That was the behavior of someone having an affair. My phone buzzed. A text from Mason. I heard Rowan filed for separation. I'm sorry. I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. This was it. The moment Rowan had been talking about. The choice between my family and Mason. I deleted the message without responding. Then I blocked his number. Then I drove to the Lantern. The bar was nearly empty at 2 p.m, just a few regulars nursing beers and watching sports on the mounted TVs. Mason looked up when I walked in, his face registering surprise and something that might have been hope. Liz, I didn't think you'd… I need you to listen to me, I said, sitting at the bar. And I need you to understand that this is the last time we're going to talk. His face fell. Oh. I'm ending this. Whatever this was, it's over. Because Rowan told you to. Because I'm choosing my family. Because I should have chosen them 6 months ago. Mason poured himself a shot of whiskey and downed it. So that's it. You're just going to pretend this never happened. No, I'm going to admit that it happened and that it was wrong. I'm going to stop making excuses and own what I did. Which was what, exactly? Had an emotional affair with you while lying to my husband about it. The words felt strange in my mouth. Foreign, but also true in a way my previous explanations hadn't been. An emotional affair, Mason repeated. Yes, that's what it was, even if we never slept together. I was emotionally unfaithful to my marriage, and I hurt my family because of it. Mason was quiet for a long moment. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I should have known better. We both should have known better. Are you going to be okay? I don't know. Maybe. If I can figure out how to earn back my husband's trust. And if you can't… I thought about the separation papers sitting on my kitchen table. Then I'll have to live with the consequences of my choices. I drove home feeling lighter somehow, like I'd finally stopped carrying a weight I'd been hauling around for months. The house was still empty, but it felt different, less like a prison and more like a place worth fighting for. I spent the afternoon cleaning obsessively, scrubbing away 6 months of lies and secrets. I deleted Mason's contact information from my phone. I went through my closet and put away the clothes I'd bought to impress him. I took down the mirror in the hallway where I used to check my appearance before leaving for our Tuesday meetings. By the time Rowan came home with Eloise, I'd made dinner and set the table with our good dishes, the ones we only used for special occasions. Mommy, Eloise ran to hug me. Grandma Judith taught me how to make cookies. That sounds wonderful, sweetheart. Why don't you go wash your hands for dinner? After she left, Rowan and I stood in the kitchen, studying each other across the space that had become a battlefield. You seem different, he said finally. I ended it. With Mason. For real this time. How do I know that? Because I blocked his number, and I went to the bar to tell him in person that it was over. Rowan's face tightened. You went to see him again? To end it. To tell him I was choosing my family. And I'm supposed to believe that this time is different. Yes, because this time I'm not making excuses or blaming other people. This time I'm admitting what I did. Which was, I had an emotional affair. I was emotionally unfaithful to our marriage. I lied to you for 6 months while developing feelings for another man. Rowan sat down heavily at the kitchen table. Feelings? Yes, I'm not going to minimize it anymore, or pretend it was just friendship. I had feelings for him, and I acted on those feelings by meeting him secretly and lying to you about it. Why? Because I was bored, because I felt trapped, because I missed feeling desired and exciting and young. I sat across from him, but mostly because I was a coward who took the easy way out instead of talking to my husband about my problems. What problems? I felt like we'd become roommates instead of lovers, like we were just going through the motions of marriage without any real connection. And instead of talking to me about that, you went to Mason. Yes, and I was wrong. Rowan was quiet for a long time, staring at his hands folded on the table. I don't know how to trust you again, he said finally. I don't know either, but I want to try. Do you, or do you just not want to get divorced? The question caught me off guard. What's the difference? The difference is whether you want to rebuild our marriage or whether you just want to avoid the consequences of destroying it. I thought about it honestly. Both, I guess. I don't want to get divorced, but I also don't want to go back to being roommates. I want to remember why we fell in love in the first place. That's going to take work, real work, counseling probably, complete transparency, no more secrets, no more lies. I know. And it might not work. I might not be able to forgive you. I know that too. Eloise bounded back into the kitchen, her hands clean and her face bright with the uncomplicated joy of a 7-year-old who didn't understand adult complications. Can we eat now? I'm starving. We ate dinner as a family for the first time in a week. The conversation was stilted, careful, but it was a start. Eloise chatted about her day with Grandma Judith, oblivious to the tension between her parents. After she went to bed, Rowan and I sat at the kitchen table with the separation papers between us. So, what happens now? I asked. Now you decide whether you want to sign these or tear them up. What do you want me to do? I want you to make the choice that's right for you. Not because you're afraid of consequences, not because you don't want people to talk, but because you genuinely want to rebuild our marriage. I looked at the papers, then at my husband, really looked at him for the first time in months. He looked tired, older, hurt in a way that might never fully heal. But he was still here, still willing to consider trying again. I want to tear them up, I said. I want to fight for our marriage. Even if it's hard, even if it takes years to rebuild trust, even if I can't promise we'll make it. Even then. Rowan reached across the table and took the papers. Slowly, deliberately, he tore them in half, then in quarters, then into small pieces that scattered across our kitchen table like confetti. Okay, he said, let's try. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. We didn't fall into each other's arms or promise that everything would be perfect. We were two people who'd been badly hurt trying to figure out if we could build something new from the wreckage of what we'd destroyed. But it was a beginning. 6 months later, we were still in counseling. I was still earning back Rowan's trust one day at a time. Eloise was happy and secure, unaware of how close her family had come to falling apart. And every Tuesday, instead of meeting Mason at the Lantern, I had lunch with my husband. We talked about everything and nothing, slowly remembering how to be friends as well as spouses. It wasn't exciting in the way my affair had been exciting, but it was real, and it was honest, and it was worth fighting for. Mason moved to another city 3 months after our conversation at the bar. I heard through mutual friends that he'd gotten a job managing a restaurant and was dating someone new. I wished him well and meant it. The video of his toast was still online, a permanent reminder of the night my double life exploded. Sometimes I thought about reporting it again, trying to get it taken down. But I decided to leave it there as a reminder of the consequences of dishonesty. People still talked, of course. Small towns have long memories. But they also move on to new scandals, new gossip, new sources of entertainment. Rowan and I survived because we chose to survive, because we chose each other, every day, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. And I learned that real love isn't about excitement or feeling young or escaping the mundane realities of adult life. Real love is about choosing your person, again and again, and building something together that's stronger than the sum of its parts, even when that person has every reason not to choose you back.